There we go. So hello. I'll just repeat myself. I should have just hit record and begin with. So I just had these calls as a check-in because everybody was working through their action plans last week to answer any questions, kind of touch on a few other things, and help support anybody along the way. So over the last 3 days, last week we had created our vision of where we want to go, broken that down into goals for 2024, broken that down again into smaller steps and action items. And then the purpose was to create a 30-day action or a 90-day action plan to what you want to create over the next 90 days, the next quarter. And I'm here to answer any questions or add any additional thoughts and support along the way. So have a few gentlemen with me today, so feel free to ask away. Let me know where you're at.
Where I get hung up is the big goal and then working towards it, because where I'm at right now, I've got a whole bunch of things that I am doing to work towards it, and got a general idea, but it's, financial security and happiness and those sorts of things. It's not dollars and cents, and I haven't defined what those terms mean. I'm kind of looking at it as, where will my steps take me to, as opposed to where I want to go to. And I'm wondering, should I be looking at a big picture, or because I start taking these steps and I really don't know where they're going to take me, where they're going to lead to, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
Yeah.
And this is kind of it. And I think we touched on it because you and I chatted yesterday, but the purpose of this, and we kind of talked about it, I think on day 2, when we're talking about like A, B, and C type goals, right? So our A type goal is something that we've already achieved. Our B type goal is something that's like, we know mentally and consciously it's achievable. And then our C type goal will be something that's like big, beautiful, I don't know how I'm going to get there type goal, right? So your vision of what you want your life to look like, that when we wrote out our dream life, or our day when we've achieved all the goals, when we go through those things, those are like your C type goals. Those are your like big step, big version ideas. And then we break it into action steps. When we create an action plan, we want to make it a little more manageable than, okay, so someday I'm going to achieve all this stuff, right? And specifically, we focus this in onto 2024. So this year, out of all of the things, when you create this big, beautiful vision, what do you want to accomplish this year? If you could pick, the top 3 things that you want to accomplish this year, what would those 3 things be? And I will come back to that question in just 1 second. But what we want to do here is keep in mind that everything we do is moving us towards that big vision. So it doesn't really matter what the specific things are, and we don't need to know the how. And that isn't really the purpose, is to figure out the how. It's to give you a place to start. Because like we said yesterday, and I guess everybody else wasn't there, but what we talked about yesterday was, okay, we don't need to see every step along the way. What we want to do is we want to create a plan.
Right.
So that in the next 90 days, the whole purpose of this workshop is to take and make an action plan for the next 90 days. And we do that because then it gives us strategic focus of, okay, what can I do now to move myself forward? But the thing is that action plan is going to change. And this is why I invite people to join this community and this circle, is so that we can work together as things adapt and like as we achieve things, as we, things happen. How can you pivot? How can you move and adapt and change so that you're still on track? But by creating a 90-day action plan, it gives you something to say, like, I'm stuck today. I don't know really where to go. You can go to your action plan and be like, okay, I'm going to take this 1 step. And then, like we talked about yesterday, when Tim and I were chatting, we said, we don't need to see every step on the staircase. We just really need to see the next step. And when you step on that next step, you're going to reveal the step after that. And when you take that next step, it's going to reveal the next step. So we don't really need to have the whole thing figured out. But if we start now and today we create this 90-day action plan of, okay, these are the things I want to accomplish in the next 90 days. How can I get there? Every one of those steps is going to lead to the big vision. Every single one of them. It's going to tie in some way, shape, or form, or going to lead you in the direction you're supposed to go. Either way. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. like I said, I've got the big picture, and
Perfect.
generally speaking, I don't want to get, I guess I don't want to get too hung up on where I want to be 6 months from now or nine. Like that's too big of a time frame to look forward to do
Well,
the
and that's
next
what I was gonna
thing.
say. It just by doing that, by one, identifying your values, and two, saying, okay, the question I said at the beginning that I wanted to come back to was, what are your three things that you would love to achieve in 2024? Because it gives you focus, right? It gives you focused attention towards something versus instead of, I want to have this beautiful business. What do you really want to achieve in 2024? What are like the top three things you want to achieve?
Um, I want to be able to go on a trip at the spur of the moment without wondering how I'm going to finance it. I want to have a nest egg that I can do those sorts of special things with special someone.
Okay, perfect. So in that statement, if you want to have a fund or an amount that you can kind of do this like spur of the moment thing, what do you think like, and if you could think of, because I've done this before where I'm like, okay, I would love to go on these trips. So I price it out. I get an
Yeah.
idea of what that looks like so that I can, like you said, set that money aside and have a plan for, okay, well, it could be anything, but a base amount for that type of anything could be like having 10 grand sitting in an account or 5 grand sitting in an account, right? So that you could go on that spur of the moment or have it set aside. So what would that figure be for you?
I think this is where I get hung up because there's a bigger picture in here that um, I'm not dreaming big enough
Mhm.
because it scares me. Big ones.
Ah.
It's like, what if that's a lot of stuff to do.
Mhm.
That's
But is it though? And this is one of the things, and this is again the reason why I created this opportunity or this workshop is because we can say, I want success,
yeah.
or we can say, I want to go on a spur of the moment trip at any point. But until we get clear on what that really looks like, then it's hard to, it makes it hard to really define. It makes it hard to move towards it or create that image of it in our mind. So what I did is I actually what book was it? It was one of Bob Proctor's books. Hold on, let me get the book in my brain. Um, You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor.
Hmm.
And one of the actions he says in there is like, again, this is part of the defining this what success means is that yes, we want to be financially free. That's a blanket statement that a lot of us say. I want financial freedom. Well, what does that look like? Well, I want to be able to travel when I want and not have to worry about bills. Okay, well, what does that look like? We want to define it. So it's like I sat down one day, what's the number? Is what he asks in the book. What's your number? So I sat down one day and I literally listed out all the things that I wanted to do. Like, say, in the run of a month, in my dream life, again, if we go back to that day in the life of, what does that look like? What would I need in my life or what would I have in my life in that moment? And I literally listed, I've got a whole page of all the things that I would already have achieved. Like I would have a pool, I would have blah, 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 list the X, Y, and Z. But I detailed out like, okay, so how much would it cost to have a pool? Like say I already have it, but how it's going to cost money to maintain it. And my lifestyle, I'll have like a maid who will come in and a chef that will come in. So how much does that cost? And I costed all those things out. I took a whole like afternoon to do it, but I got super clear on what I would love. And I did like you said, I wanted to do a couple trips a year. Okay, well, I want to take the family in a couple trips a year. So I costed it out. Like how much would an Airbnb that I would love? So I went looking for the price of an Airbnb of this one, right? And it doesn't mean that I need to pick this one when I go to do it, but it gives me a clear idea of what I would love. It's like making your vision board, but making it like this is the kind of thing I'm looking for. You may not have that exact thing, but it's going to be that idea, right? So when I did the trips, I literally like I had, okay, 3 times a year, I'm going to cost out how much it's going to cost. And then I broke it down monthly into like, well, if I take my partner and my son on a trip, well, this is kind of the gas it's going to cost or the flights, how much. And I went and looked at flight prices. I looked at Airbnb prices. I looked at how much groceries it would probably cost. I looked at all these things, right? And then I tied it all together to say, okay, well, a trip for the three of us would roughly, and in this moment, because I mean, cost, inflation, blah, 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 prices change. It's going to cost me this much. So each month I want to be able to have that flexibility to have that type of income, to be able to have that opportunity. Right. But if we don't know and we don't take the time to kind of clearly define it, it makes it super difficult to be like, okay, well, I want to have a spur of the moment trip. I know that's a lot, but when you write it down, it's not really as much, and you can have fun with it. You like just play with, where would you love to go? What would you love to do on that trip?
Well,
Can
Go ahead.
can I also say
Yeah.
mention something also? Especially once you're 35 and older, your brain begins to solidify into your routine.
Mhm.
So once we start looking outside of changing that routine, the mind automatically is like, "Ah, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. This is like outside of the comfort zone," where most of the growth, most of uh the learning aspects is when we get outside of that comfort zone. This is part of why you push yourself outside that comfort zone in order to achieve your goals. And so
Mhm.
when you get comfortable in that uncomfortability, there's a power there that helps you to focus and allow yourself to be open to achieve those goals and not have that little doubting Thomas voice in the back being like, no, just stay in your circle, just stay right. So by helping overcome that talk and get out of that comfort zone is where the beauty of growth and exponential life experiences can happen.
yeah, that's where I always use the phrase, but I like it in the comfort zone. It's warm and fuzzy.
Right. And this is the thing. I love that, Jess. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because this is the thing, is that, like you said, we are really good at our comfort zone. That's why it's called a comfort zone. It's so warm and fuzzy. But the purpose of creating a goal is to create the growth. Right? That's why we create goals. That's why we create a vision of something different. The reason why we have desires, and we had this conversation, I think, on day one, is just about having desires or a goal or whatever, so that we can create the growth. As humans, we are made to grow and expand, always for expansion and full expression. So by giving ourselves these things, we don't need to achieve goals. We don't need to achieve desires, but those things are what help us grow and become the person we're meant to be. There's a reason why we have them.
I guess where I get hung up when I start looking at it, when I start looking at the big picture and then breaking it down, suddenly the pressure of, oh my goodness, I have to produce this much this month, or I'm not going to reach my goals. And that brings flashbacks to the corporate world and the stress that went along with the produce, produce, produce. And I don't want to get into that mentality. I want to be able to enjoy what I'm doing and not at the expense of my mental health.
Well, and this is why we talked about shifting the word, I believe, Jazz, is like you said,
Yep.
you know, what if you shifted it from a goal to a desire or to something, and make it fun, whatever feels right for you. You can give it whatever title, or like milestones or achievements or whatever it could be, right? It could be whatever language. But the other thing you need to do is, like you said, incorporate, it's just change the energy around it, because we were driven to like, this is what we need to achieve. We have to achieve this. This is blah, 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 right? The pressure of that. How can you make it fun? Because instead of it being like, okay, this is what I would love to happen. This is one of the words I like to use. What would I love? Because then it's easy and it's fun, as opposed to like, oh, I have to achieve this. I would love for this to happen. And then you let go of the attachment of, well, if it doesn't happen, that's okay. I just move it. Like the date, you just give it a time frame so you have an idea of how to play with it. It doesn't need to be a like, okay, as of this month, I need to achieve this. I'd love to achieve this month. And if it doesn't happen, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's going to continue, but it's going to move me towards what I really desire or what I want or whatever.
Yes.
Jazz,
And I guess at the
It's
end of the day, if you can say I've made progress,
yes. 100%. And if we don't give any focus to it, we're just gonna like coast along with the wherever the winds take us.
Yeah, it's definitely taking the pressure and being in that play aspect. It's and in a way being able, and this gets into like healing inner child and things like
Yeah.
that, where you get that sense of play, that sense of adventure and curiosity, and being like, okay, I did one of the three things. Cool, I did one of the three things, right? It's not having that pressure of like, okay, and again, this is something that I brought up in the workshops, is it's not that mindset of, oh, I can love myself when I accomplish this. It's you love yourself regardless. If and you're able to get one or two or all three things done, cool. It just depends on that pace of where you are in that day. Because there's like, so bring it for personally to me, is there's days where my blood sugars are all over the place. And yeah, there's stuff that I need to get done, but at the same time, my health, physical, mental, spiritual health is more important, because if I don't take care of those, then how the heck am I supposed to do all that other stuff that I want to do? So it's being patient with yourself and understanding that not there's going to be days where you're not going to be as productive as other days because of whatever's going on, right? We're in this third dimensional reality, in this third dimensional meat suit that sometimes gets vulnerable to viruses or some sort of illness, or fatigue, right? Because we're so motivated to work on whatever goals that we have, that we get so focused, and we can get that burnout. So allowing ourselves to have that one or two off days, maybe in a row or whatever, gives you that freedom and reduces that pressure that you put on yourself.
Oh, this is so good. And this is the reason why I wanted to build this Success Master Circle, is because when we go through this journey, we're constantly learning, we're constantly growing, we're constantly changing and adjusting. And this is what we talked about, is like, we may have a goal of 90 days, but what happens on day 10 when something goes terribly sideways and you're like, oh, well, I can't even take these actions. I don't feel good, blah, 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 blah. This is why when you have a group, a community that you're surrounded by, and this is one of the things I didn't get a chance to really touch on in the workshop, is just having a community around you has been the most transformational part of my journey. And being able to have these conversations, on a weekly, daily basis of like, oh, I'm stuck with this, and then helping you change your mindset, there's a word I'm looking for, it starts with a P. Perception, your perception, is that what you said?
Perspective.
Perspective too, that either one of those works. Yeah, when change your perspective on how you're seeing it, right? And it's taking it from because this is the thing, when we're in the journey, we're in it. So when we're in it, it's hard to see outside of it because we're stuck in it, right? And we can only see from our own filter, our own observation. Tim, you're giggling at something.
In the restaurant business, we call it being in the weeds.
Yes.
Only see what's around you. You can't see how to get out of it.
Exactly. You're stuck in it, right? You're stuck in the muck. Some people say it in variety. I can think of a couple of different ways you could put it, but anyway, but when you have a community of people around you and you can have these types of conversations of people that are like-minded, that are on the journey alongside you, they give you support to say, you know what about this perspective? And like we're talking about, and this is exactly what we're doing here in this conversation of like, okay, so Tim, we're talking about your goal. But how can we shift, and how can we make it fun? How can we make this in the childlike experience? How can we shift some of that corporate mindset, right? And this is exactly why this community is here, is to be able to have this type of interaction, right, with each other, and share our thoughts and perspectives so that we can have those shifts, pivots, and adjusting along the way and create our success that is meant for you specifically. Hello, Enrique, and welcome. We were in the middle of it. So hopefully that's for Tim, for your thoughts. Like, we don't create the list of like the top 2, 3 things that you want to achieve in 2024. And then, okay, so, and we were just reverse engineering it. So, okay, so if this is what I want to create, this is where I kind of need to be. Don't need to be, but I would love to be at this point in 6 months. And for that to happen, I would love to be at this point in this point time frame, whatever words or language we want to use. So when you think about it that way, in 90 days, where would you love to be?
Well, I'm in the process of starting up a new business. And I'd like it to be productive in action. Right now I'm doing preliminary work. I actually have an appointment booked at the bank to go in this afternoon to set up my financial stuff. So people can, when people pay me, I can deal with it that way.
Fantastic.
So those are the steps I'm doing now. 90 days from now, I'd like to be up and running with me having clients and having done classes and courses.
That's
I don't
beautiful.
have a number on how many I'd like to have done, but I want it to be. I want my days to then be, what am I doing about my business today, not what am I setting up, which is where I am now.
Yeah. And even, over the next little bit, come up with the numbers. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm stuck to this number, but it gives you like, again, if you're shooting for the moon, you'll hit the stars. But if you're not aiming anywhere, then you don't know where you're going to end up, right? So just give it an idea for it to aim to. It doesn't need to be stuck in solid and concrete stone, but just have fun with it. And the numbers are just there to give you some guidance.
Yeah.
So I love that idea of just, having a thriving, successful business that's moving forward and connecting with more clients, connecting with, creating some flow for you, those types of things. It's so beautiful. Jazz, where are you at? How's your action plan coming? I know you have the beautiful steps to take.
It's about halfway done, but I mean, like I have other versions of it in other documents and stuff like that, so it's just amalgamating it all together. But definitely, I mean, in my 3 month is finish school, well, finish classes, because then April is exams and stuff like that. But finish with a 70 average for this semester.
Fantastic.
And have 5 more clients and have run at least one level 1 Reiki training, and getting ready to launch like others. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And I know you've got other things on the go that are happening further out, but you're going to have to take steps now in order for those further out things to have happened. But
yeah, like I've got my team essentially for the festival already, and arranging a meeting for next week so that everyone can meet, and then setting up the game plan to get all that launched, because I'm hoping by the end of the month the website will be up and people can start applying for the festival.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you guys notice that he caught himself saying, I'm hoping to, no, I want this to happen. So he made it a affirmation statement of it's done. It'll be done at this point, and clarified it for yourself. I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Fantastic. Lots of beautiful things.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I actually have to go because I have a client soon, but
No
I wanted to jump on the call for at least a little bit. So yeah, and I'll book soon to do the follow-up with you.
No problem. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care.
Cheers.
Enrique, how's your action plan coming and your next steps?
Well, the information you sent me about that, it's I've been searching. I haven't posted anything. I know I need to post it.
That's okay.
Um,
There's absolutely no pressure here. It's just to support you.
yeah, no, and that I appreciate. I need to post my posts in there. Also, I need to pass a few more exams for the other business, which I am studying. I'm planning on taking one exam today. So hopefully by the end of this week, Sunday, I can finish with all the exams that I needed to take
Mhm.
so that I can start contacting clients or prospects to offer my services.
Yay.
So I know I need to move. I know I need to take action. Otherwise, a lot of thinking and a lot of wishing is nothing's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
While we talked that day, yes, I need to lose that fear of criticism or whatever it is and just get past it.
Mhm.
Get past it. Otherwise, I'm not going to accomplish anything, right? And I'm going to go back into the old habit of being comfortable in a work environment,
Mhm.
right?
Well, and you're taking the steps. Like we don't need to take the feeling of I didn't accomplish or I haven't done this yet, and just be like each day is created for your experience. I was listening to an Abraham Hicks recording this morning, and it was talking about it's funny because we feel like um, she was talking about her and her partner at the time had gone Esther and oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name at the top. Anyway, Esther and her husband at the time were going whitewater rafting, and they were like, you know, they put the canoe in at one place, and they end up at one place like later 2 hours downstream, right? And she talks all the time about, or Abraham talks all the time about going upstream versus downstream, right? Paddling, pushing hard, and going
Jerry
upstream.
Hicks.
Thank you, Jerry. And versus just letting the oars go and you naturally go downstream. And they were talking about, well, I really want to be here at point A, and I'm only just putting the canoe in the water, but I really want to be point A. Why wouldn't we just take the truck and take the canoe and drive it down to point A as opposed to like going in the boat, right? Because it's part of the journey. The journey is the purpose, not the destination. Whereas, and again, when we go back to the growth and the, like you set the goal to have the growth where we talked about earlier, Tim, it's like, you know, we don't put our boat in to go anywhere anticipating to get there immediately. Yes, we want to be there immediately, but it's the journey that takes us to where we want to go. It's the journey that gives us the growth that we need to be the person that we need to be at that point. We can't just, it defeats the purpose to take the canoe out of the water and drive around and come back to this other point.
There
The
are
purpose.
lessons to be learned on the journey.
Yes, 100%. And if we don't take the next step, like we talked earlier, it's not about seeing the whole staircase, it's just taking the next step. And as you go through, you're going to learn whatever you need to learn to take the next step. And you'll see and find the opportunities and the resources to take the next step. We can't fast forward through that because then we're not going to be where we want to be anyway. It's going to take us a totally different direction. Every step is meant for us. So Enrique, when you were talking about, you know, well, I didn't do this stuff yet. Let go of the heaviness of that and just be okay with where you are today and where do you want to go tomorrow. That is literally the journey. It's not about deciding it all right now. We are creating an action plan and a vision and whatever, but it's just a guide. It's to create an action plan so that those days that you don't feel like doing anything, you can look at your action plan and going, okay, I'm going to do this because it's easy. And that was one thing we talked about, I think on day 2 or 3, was how can you make it easy for yourself? Don't make the next step hard of like, I need to create this or I need to do something. Break it up into smaller. And this is why we're talking about there's this big vision and we're breaking up into like this year, 60 days, 90 days, or 90 days, 60 days, 30 days. So we can make it easier. Not so much that we set a goalpost that we have to pass. It's so we can make it in a manageable steps and make it easier on ourselves for the journey. And when we just let the oars go, we go there naturally and it's easy. versus I need to do this. So it's even just shifting the perspective of it in that idea. And whatever you did yesterday did or didn't do yesterday does not matter. It happened for a reason. Every single thing that happened to you yesterday, a month ago, the last year, the last 3 years has all happened for a purpose, for you to be here today in this version of you.
So it's like what you were saying on Saturday that we had a talk.
Mhm.
The to not force things, right? To not say, oh, I need to have in order to whatever accomplish something. But it's more like not the need, but the I guess the way I see it is like the journey to enjoy. Okay, that is the process. What do I need to do to get there? Okay, I have to do certain steps. And I guess not to do it in a rush, not to do it with that. Okay.
Yeah, there's no pressure. Actually, when we let go of the pressure and the resistance, that's when the journey is the best. When we are in the fun and the joy and the just, like I said, the vision and the goals and the whole purpose of this action plan is to just aim us in the right direction to where we want to go. But if we don't get clear on it, if we don't really know what that is, but we feel, and this is what we talked about on day one, is this gap of like, well, I see other people achieving this. I want to achieve this. I desire this. But if we don't even create the vision, the intention of aiming for it, of getting clear on what that journey might look like, well, we'll just end up wherever the rapids take us. But we have to be happy with that. Or if we're not happy, then we get to create what we would love first. Set the intention of it, and then we will naturally go that way. Thoughts, questions, ideas, clarity, aha moment?
This morning I was watching the third video because I missed that day. And some of it was, I mean, you were talking with other people and it was their situations. So it was kind of background stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute. What did you just say? And I dial it back and write this down. And what I wrote down was, we are the light for others. Until we see our own light, we can't be the light for, we can't be a light for others. And that was a big one for me, because I'm still looking for it internally, but it's there. I just need to let it out.
100%. I'm going to drop this Abraham Hicks thing that I listened to earlier in the group, because that was like, it talked about this, you know, going through the journey, but the other part of it was specifically around, oh shoot, now it's just, that thought just lost me. Being the light, but all we need to do, oh, that was it, what it was. The desire that we have to help somebody, or to be able to, you know, we all want to help people or change people's lives or impact people. And even the desire to have the thing creates alignment with our higher self, our energetic version of ourselves. It automatically, with the desire and the thought, we put our focused attention to it. Again, this is why we create the vision and the intention and where we want to go. Because then as soon as we get clear on that, our higher self, our energetic version of ourselves, automatically becomes aligned to it. And so that's when it becomes easier, because we are moving ourselves toward that version that's already there. This is why when they say it's done, it's already done. Because as soon as you put your clarity and your vision and create the next action steps, the opportunities, the resources, the people that you need will come into your existence because of that intention, because you're already aligned with it. And when you do that, you already have the light within you. Like you said, Tim, the light's already within you. You just need to become aligned with it to see it. But if we're not giving ourselves the opportunities or the action steps to even move towards it, it makes it really difficult for us to see it in the weeds, in the muck. You just need to create the right environment to see it.
It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself. I'm gonna have to keep looking for it. It's already there.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I love having these types of conversations, because again, we had this, Enrique and Tim, I've had a call with both of you. And in each conversation, we've had this very similar conversation. And like yesterday, Tim, it was, you found it within yourself. When you were at the church and they asked you to share an idea, to share a message, and you found it, it was already there.
Yeah.
You just needed to be invited to see it. Right? And this is
And
Go ahead.
let it out. And let
Yes.
it out.
Yes. You needed to give yourself the environment to see it.
The other thing that I wrote down, I just noticed it because it's above it. That version of me is already within me. It's not different from who I am today. It's an evolved or an expanded version, or simply an evolved or expanded version.
The only difference is the growth. And if we don't have those goals, the vision of where we want to go, the growth doesn't happen because we get stuck in the weeds and we're sitting here looking at our shit to get real vulgar about it. And we can't figure out how to get out of it. But when we give ourselves this other environment, this other something to move into, to evolve into, there's a reason why we have the desire. The desire or goal or thought in our head is there for us to go through the lessons we need to go through to evolve to that person that has those things.
I'm tapping my pen because I got you two stuck head down.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
We're all here for purpose, and we're all here. Those that connect with me are specifically here to bring a light to others. I know it.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen that in retrospect. I look back. My early days in my 20s, I was in fast food management. I did the Burger King thing,
Mhm.
and I was working with teenagers. And it was only several years later when I ran into some of them, when I realized the extent of the impact I had on their life. Because you don't know when you're in, and you don't know who's seeing the light you're shining.
Yeah. And it may not be through like coaching, or it may not be through anybody else that's watching the recording. It could be through all kinds of things, but you discovering your light helps others or all around you in every aspect of your life, whether it's clients you're working with, whether it's family, friends, whatever. You're the impact.
It's the same way when you read Bob Proctor or someone like that, they don't know where their light went. It is that's gonna shine on you. It's two sides of the same thing.
100%. I'm just here to help you shine the light, find it within you, discover it, uncover it, light it, whatever. Set it on fire. Add the gas.
make a big old metaphor salad.
Exactly. That exactly. And it's when we come together in spaces like this that we create more ignition for each other. It's like a mastermind. One mind can only do so thing, but when you bring minds together, we create like currently there's 3 of us on here, and together we create a 4th mind, because together is where we create the magic. And that's why that's why I'm building this community specifically for that, to create the magic for each other. Enrique.
I pulled the book of Ask and It's Given.
Good book.
And was just flipping and it says, how can I know what I am attracting? I'm the business of financial advisor. When I was in university, I was like, I hate finance. I hate accounting. That's why I went into engineering. And I'm finding that sometimes I struggle to learn certain terms of the investments options and all of that jazz. How do I know more than how can I know what I am attracting? Because thoughts become things.
Mm-hmm.
How can I know if that I know the only way to make money is if that's the end goal is to serve people.
Mm-hmm.
But how can I know that's for me? Because sometimes I don't feel it. When we were talking about walking dogs, I love animals, dogs and cats and all alike. If I could do that for a living, I'll be the happiest man on earth. Even if I'm not making millions, I don't care about the millions. I just want to be happy with those little guys. And it's the same thing here. People is like, oh, you can make $100,000 a month. That's fine for side. I don't care about the 100,000 for someone. I just want to live a simple life, financially free, worry free, and that gives me a chance to see places,
Yeah.
experience life. But sometimes I don't feel it. Like there's this one exam in segregated funds that I'm like, oh my God, why is it so hard to grasp the concepts?
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, maybe this is not for me, but how could I know what is and what is not?
What feels right? What lights you up? What makes, and that's why I said, like, do the dog walking for now. Like just to when you're in alignment, and this is the thing, is that we constantly change. We change, we evolve, we grow. And so when we go through a process, like, I mean, look at me, I've gone through multiple different career changes in my life. And at different times, I loved what I did. And I'm sure we all have. We love what we've done at one point in time when we are aligned with it. It goes back to the 3 A's that we talked about. So awareness, alignment, and action. So you become aware of something, you're like, oh, this seems like it might be fun, like the dog walking, for example. And you try it out and it feels aligned in that moment. When I've gone through different jobs and careers, they felt like this is it. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And then I evolved and I changed for a purpose because I'm meant to do something different. We're not meant to really, I mean, some people love what they do and they stay at it forever. And that's okay for them. But this is why we create this. What does success look like for you? What do you want your life to look like? And create it in reverse. We reverse engineer it because before we were all just told to get a job, get an education, get a retirement fund, blah, 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 XXX. Is that really in alignment with us as a human energetic being? Is that really how this life is supposed to work? Why were we given so many different desires, like we talked about a few minutes ago? Our desires are meant to align us to what we would love to do or what lights us up. And every one of us is different. And I was listening to this speech from Oprah because I was kind of having the same thought. How do I know if this is the right thing for me, Enrique? And one of the things she said is like, we just need to find God's purpose for us. And we may find that it may not make us money. It may not be if it does, great, but our purpose is to serve. And in our service we may not be compensated specifically for that service, but the universe will reply and respond when we are of service that feels right. So another opportunity will show up or another alignment will come in effect for you when you're in something that you love to do, when you are aligned with it, when it feels right. And so we choose sometimes to do things like get a job or do a financial, like if you like the number, so you can do it. You may not enjoy all aspects of it, but the thought of helping people inspires you. And imagine helping people get financially, correct in their finances and whatever, have a plan, have security. That feels good to you. So even if it's just that in this moment, and then, you know, in a year from now, you change and pivot and like, you know what, I think this is more aligned to me. Perfect. But what if the financial advisor thing and the insurance part of it and creating this, helping people create this financial ability brings you to what you're supposed to do? We just got to follow the breadcrumbs, follow what feels right, follow what's in front of us. And maybe it's what leads us to the next thing. Again, we only need to see the next step. And being in that step, it's going to reveal the next step. We're just going to learn to grow and evolve and change. Humans do that. That's part of our existence. We're forever changing. Even if you stay at the same job forever, it changes, you change in the process. So back to your original question of what if is this really what I'm meant to do? Is this really what I'm meant to attract? Or am I in the right space? Only you can answer that. But what moves you forward? What excites you? What feels right for you? We talked about your human design. Let me pull it up again. It's here somewhere. You were a manifester.
Yeah. Hmm.
And one of the things it said in there was like, you take action when the time is right. So sometimes it's just in the timing that feels right for you. We're allowed to move and adjust and pivot. So, and it's not like you're stuck with one thing forever. Go with what feels right for you. We just need to learn to trust our intuition, and every one of us feels our intuition in a different way. So when you close your eyes, I think we've done this before, but if you close your eyes and you ask yourself a question, like here's the quick exercise. So if you close your eyes and you're sitting at a dinner table, or before you sit down at a dinner table, the table is beautifully set. There's people all over the place, this beautiful dinner set in front of you, and you go to sit down and there is a person sitting, there's only one empty seat at the table, and there's a person sitting to your right or to the right of that seat. And this person just gets under your skin. It's a person that kind of drives you a little crazy. It's a person that you're not sure if you really want to spend the next hour, hour and a half sitting next to. Where do you feel that in your body? Where does it show up? You feel it in your heart, your chest, physically, where does it show up?
My back.
Near back, okay. So that's kind of like a no. So if you picture that same table, people talking, beautiful food aromas, and you go to sit down at this one seat that's left open, and to your left, there's your favorite person. You could spend hours talking to this person. You see their face, their smile, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and have this conversation that's going to last hours. Where do you feel that?
It's more like on my not the stomach per se, but in this area.
Mm-hmm. So that's a yes.
The gut. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start paying attention to where you feel it in your body, you can use that as signs when you ask yourself yes or no questions. So is this the right way I should be going? Sit with it. Visualize that direction. What does it look like? So if you're thinking about being a financial advisor, think about you doing the position, doing the job, talking to people, helping them with their finances. It may not be the nitty-gritty of this specific way of doing it, but when you think about the impact, where do you feel it? Does it feel right for you? Does it feel like a yes or a no? Use your inner guidance.
Okay. Okay.
We have this sacred tool that's within us that we are so not used to using.
Yeah. Many years ago, when I used to work for Salesforce, part of the training was to go to San Francisco. And I wasn't aware, but you need to help you need to do what's the name of this? Volunteer work. So I volunteer to sort clothes out for the homeless and everything. I was like, oh my God, that is so much fun to help others, right? And I'm like, if we can do that here in back home in Canada to help the people that really need it, that is like one of the things that I always wanted to do, to have enough resources to say, you know what, everybody's got food, everybody gets some clothes to wear, and to I don't know, eventually make the society a little bit better so that the richer don't get richer and everything's more balanced. But that's almost impossible. But anyways, but
But is it though? If we're all on that, if we move everyone, sorry, this is me getting visionary, but like if we all move towards that, and like we said, it's just we can only change ourselves, we can't change others. But if every single one of us started sharing that vision, you never know. Anyway,
The shift in
Yeah.
the energy will start.
yep. 100%. That's why I do a monthly free meditation where the collective can come together and make change. Just saying. Enrique, sorry.
No, it's true. And you know, that's one of the, I guess that's my end goal in the end, right? To help others, to, I don't know, to make the community where I live and or the country that I live in better, better
Mhm.
than I found it at least.
And the
I don't
more
have
of
kids or
us
anything, so at
that
least
start, go ahead, sorry. Let me cut you
no,
off.
no, at least, you know, leave the place a little bit better for somebody else, not for, you know.
Mhm. And the more of us that have that, the more of us that share that, the more of us that see that light within ourselves and share our light with others, the more that will continue. We
Mhm.
create a shift. Again, I just study Dr. Joe Dispenza, and one of the things, I don't know if you've read Becoming Supernatural, one of the last chapters in there, he talks about the collective and the fact that how he's done studies where he has done a meditation with a group of thousands, and they've done a study, and the energy in that environment, that community, physically changed. Like it changed on the, like, again, I'm not scientific. Feel free to go read the book. He'll tell you all the science behind it. But people who got together in one space and created a vision and energetically moved their intention towards something literally created a physical shift in the energetic mass of the planet.
Mm.
So there is way more to this than, you know, thoughts become things. But what if we collectively each start moving ourselves towards something like that, Enrique? Just imagine the
Yeah.
impact that we could have. And it starts with us. We see the light in ourselves, we share a light with others, we create a ripple effect.
I have friends that want to change the world, and for me, that's too big of a thing. What's what feels more right for me is making my little part of the world better.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I don't have to save everybody, but and that's another part of it is I can't save anybody, but I can help themselves.
Exactly.
My little parts. I can't save the whole. I can't save it.
I'm all
Well,
about creating a big ripple effect. So it starts here though. It starts here in this
Well,
moment.
That'll happen if you make this. I'm just the pebble. Ripples. Everybody else takes care of the ripples.
Exactly. Enrique, so going back to your thought of like making, having people have food and whatever. And this is the thing, again, being of service. You can be of service, like you said, volunteering.
mhm.
It doesn't need to be a money-making scheme in order for you to make an impact.
Yeah.
But when you create financial freedom for yourself to be able to have the ability to volunteer or to give back or to have the resources to be able to share with others, that's the bigger thing. You know, when people are like, well, why is it all about the money? It's not all about the money, but those of us that are good people that want to do something different with money create a difference.
Mhm.
But it could just be volunteering somewhere. That's an impact. That's a ripple effect. That's you sharing your light. So much fun.
I had to dig back in my closet for a minute because I knew I had this law of attraction.
Yes. Yeah, I got that one too.
One of the early ones I got, and you can tell that I've actually read it because there's marks in it. And
And multiple
And-
bookmarks or something. Yeah.
and highlighter marks.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I mentioned the other day that I read a lot about Robin Sharma, and that's one of the things that he is really big on. When you read a book, use a highlighter, and
Mhm.
it keeps things for you. A friend of mine referenced something here for me, and I just ate it right up.
I was very resistant to highlighters and writing things on my book because I love pristine books. But since I started my personal development journey, I've let go of that idea.
Well, because some parts of the book are more important than others.
Yeah, and it just helps
There's
like,
fluff in them.
well, and the more you read something, you're going to find something different in every statement because you're a different version of yourself every time you read it. So something else is going to stand out.
Exactly. As you grow, different things mean more to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Anyway, this has been a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for joining today. Any questions, comments? We're all over here changing the world.
A
Making an
little bit at
impact,
a time.
a little bit at a time. Keep shining your light, my friends. Keep taking steps. And I'm always here for you.
Yes, I will be in touch. I've got my bank. I've got a few other things on the go, so we'll be in touch with you.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon. Thanks
Have
for
a
joining
good day.
today.
Take care.
See you later.
All right, my friend, take care.
You too.